Happy Monday, friends.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. I can't believe we're halfway through January.
We're like 1 week left of January.
I know. Nick actually texted me last week. His business, his company is owned by a new company now. And so they have like different things that are, and they have MLK Day off, which they don't normally. And I was like, I don't even know what holidays exist anymore now that we work for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like
we get the big ones off. That's really about it.
Well, we take the big ones off.
Yeah.
We, Christmas, New Year's Day,
July 4th.
July 4th. We try to allow for a little bit of balance there. But when you work for yourself and you have clients and a passion for what you do, like
there's always a million things to do. Like we just had a meeting that was 5 minutes with Art, and I feel like our laundry list grew even more.
Every time we talk to Art, our laundry list grows exponentially, and it's all exactly what we should be doing. But then I, turn the question to myself of like, I already don't have enough time to do anything. I don't know when I'm going to do it. But hey, I will say this. We have been very active on social media, which has been like a new push that we've been working on. And I'm very proud of us. Mm-hmm. It is something that I was like, we don't have time. We can't do this. But like, you figure it out when you tell yourself that you're going to do it.
Art's like, you guys have time. You're just not prioritizing the time. Listen to what you say in your own podcast. And we said, okay, we got it. This is a non-negotiable for us.
Yes.
So as long as Instagram doesn't take our videos down because of music.
Stupid music. Don't give me the option to use that music if you're just going to take the video down with that music in it.
And also, does anybody really own the rights anymore? Like, you pay for Spotify.
I know.
You should be able to use whatever music you want. And if it's on your own platform, like, am I having to pay 99 cents now to add it to? I don't understand the whole rights thing, because it's available for you to use either on Instagram or to download and pull from Spotify that you pay for. So whatever. Anyways, happy Monday, friends. We could go on little rants about
everything.
Well, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, this is what I always come back to. It's like, why does this have to be so challenging? I'm just trying to
be entertaining on social media,
communicate and share and post. And it's like, gosh, okay, here's another roadblock. That's all right. What do? We pivot, we adjust, we overcome, we figure it out. We get better at it every time. There's actually Shailene Johnson's son. He is super, super funny. If you guys don't follow him, he basically is sharing how to create reels and more content for, entrepreneurs and people who run online businesses. But he himself is just so funny, and she's hilarious too. Like, if you ever watched any of her funny stuff, like, she's either very serious and business and motivating and on point, or she's just hilarious. And so I'm going to find my inner comedian this year. That's one of my goals.
I feel like I have it. I don't do a good job of portraying it in my posts. In my stories, I feel like there's good stuff there. And I think I need to talk to my husband about getting him in some of because like my husband and I and our communications are often pretty entertaining. And I look back on them and I'm like, I feel like this would probably make other people feel more normal, because we are like.
Well, there's two that we've watched on TikTok that are Art and I to a T. So the first one is, if you guys don't know, we love Costco tequila, or just Reposado tequila. And we don't often drink it, but we still enjoy it from time to time. And so there's one, and it's a mom and dad, and they're getting ready to go to the park. And the dad's like, hey, babe, you want to have a shot real quick? And the mom is like, we're going to the park. And he's like, exactly why we need to have 2 shots. And then there's another one that's the girl, and I think you've sent this to me before too, but it's the girl that's like whispering to her husband about, hey babe, do you want to get some Taco Bell? And they're like supposed to be on a diet together. And he's like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, babe. She's like trying to be sexy with it. It's so funny. But anyways, yeah. It would be funny to kind of see those things.
I mean, Nick and I just argue. I mean, like, and it's playful arguing, but it's just like constant arguing every night about random things. Like, it's just back and forth. And so maybe I just need to hire someone to come document my life. Anyways.
And all of the 89 things that we do in a day.
That's what I'm planning. I'm like formulating in my mind how I'm going to portray a day in the life. I just don't know how I'm going to keep it to like a minute. There's no fucking way. And so I'm wondering if I somehow do like a couple different reels to break it up.
Yeah,
like
you can do that.
How my mornings, daytime, what I do evenings. which looks a little different depending on like what day of the week it is. Because on Tuesdays when I come see Liz, I actually have to get both kids ready in the morning to get them out of the house by 7:30 to then drive an hour to my mom's, drop them off, come to Liz's, work, go back, pick them up, drive back home. It's a long day, and there's a lot of planning that goes into that day.
Can you imagine if you had to go into the office every day and do that every day?
No, not at all. And before we left the house, Carson goes, Mama, I want to listen to Sesame Street Jingle Bells the whole way there. I was like, oh my God, please no. Please no.
Oh my Lanta. Marcus he requests, bus. That's just, he's still on the word bus, but now he's getting into cars, and he loves his doctor kit that he got for Christmas. So we've been watching this doctor cartoon. I don't even know what her name is. She's kind of strange and I think she's more for girls than boys, but I'm like, okay, I'm trying to bribe him now to get in the car to go to school by telling him we can listen to the bus, then we can listen to cars,
oh yeah,
get him excited about going to school.
Carson's been more repeating things lately, but not like a parrot. He like hears them and then uses them in like the right scenario later, but not good things. Like the other day, Jersey was licking himself, and Nick runs up and like taps him, and he's like, Jersey, stop licking your balls. And then that night, Carson runs upstairs and he goes, Mom, Jersey was licking his balls. I was like, oh my God, why?
I don't know if Carson has ever done this, but Marcus just thinks that farting is the funniest thing ever. And he's like, Mama fart. And I'm like, I didn't fart. Like, he's like, Dad, a fart. And I was like, yes, okay, I'm sure that your dad probably did fart. Or sometimes, I do it too. But then I said, did Marcus fart? And he goes, no, me fart. like you were going crazy.
Every time I pee, Carson's usually in the bathroom because like toddler life. Mama, is that coming out of your butt? I was like, no. And then you try to explain to them like where pee comes from with girls versus poop. And it's just like, I'm like, this is my life right now. This is the stage we're in where I'm trying to explain that pee does not come out of a girl's butt. This is where we're at.
I think there needs to be a parent training class on how to talk to your toddlers, because obviously when, boys are waking up with little boners, like, I don't know what to say.
Oh, we've been there. And my poor child is going to be on podcasts forever because of this, but he'll see it and look at me and he's like, Mama, that's a big one. And I'm like, this is not my talk. Please, Nick, come in here. This is not me. Like, this is your parenting job. I can't.
So we're trying to work on potty training, and Art was like, he doesn't need to sit down. And I'm like, well, I sit down when I pee. And so usually he's with me and he mimics that. Like, I don't know how to help him stand up and like point it. And I'm like,
all the training potties, that's what they do. Or you hold the cup for them.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Yeah. Well, he's still sitting with me. I told Art, I said, you want to start, you go with him and you show him. But what happens is Marcus just goes into the bathroom and just stares at him and is like, just, the manhood, like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? And so it's just so funny, and it's also so awkward at the same time. And we probably shouldn't share too much of this on the podcast.
Okay.
Because
anyways, let's talk about food.
We're embarrassing our little ones, and they have no control over it.
I know. But I mean, it's funny. They'll do it to their kids when they grow,
Okay. So how do you deal with food peer pressure from friends, significant others, colleagues? It could also be your kids, depending upon how old your kids are, because I think, teenagers for sure can be a part of this. And, a lot of people that we work with specifically always talk to us about, like, they don't want to be the outcast, right? They don't want to not be part of the group. And we totally get that, because we all want to fit in some way, shape, or form. Like, we've been wired to do that as a kid. Or some people are scarred from comments being made to them as kids, like why they aren't eating certain things or whatever. And so we wanted to kind of break this down today and talk a little bit about like what the science says about our social circles, how they influence our behavior, how unhealthy peer pressure starts, and what are some things that we can do to start to change the dialogue around this and really be proud and confident. Like, I think it's one thing for us to talk, in Friday Fires and share the hard truths and, preach to you guys 100 times over and over again that you just have to own your choices and be proud and put in the work. But at the end of the day, we also both totally get that when you're in those settings and emotions are high and you want to fit in and you want to enjoy these yummy foods and really experience, what food brings in terms of our social connections and joy and connection with others, how we can, not falter onto, off of, our goals. And maybe you've created some momentum and you have an event coming up and you're worried about this. How is this going to throw me, off track? So we're going to kind of talk through all of those things today. But just before we dive in, like, understand that this takes time for you to fully change, to fully feel proud, to not fear these events, to not fear certain foods or drinks or whatever it might be, and overcome triggers. And it's possible to do this, but we have to understand that there's a lot of work that goes into that to improve that relationship with food, to really stand firm in our choices, and understand too, if we do have a slip up, like, it's a moment in time.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And this is, I think, a part of everyone's journey with nutrition and just social settings in general. I think it's probably one of the hardest things, and it develops into bigger issues that then transcend into habits at home. A lot of times people will be influenced by other people's food choices, and then they create habits around eating those foods, and then they become addicted to those foods, and then it turns into you're in the house by yourself and you're still finding yourself like tempted by yourself and pressured, with thoughts and justifications, and it turns into a whole mindset game. And it kind of stinks because unfortunately in today's world, being healthy has deemed you the outcast. Like it is what it is. I see it so much, and like, oh, you don't want to eat that cupcake that's 500 calories? Don't be lame. Like, just enjoy life. Well, no, I'm trying to be healthy and lose weight and, change my life. That cupcake kind of represents something bigger than the cupcake to me. And same thing with drinking. Like, oh, you aren't having a drink? That's stupid. Like, these comments are, on surface level, they seem kind of silly, but like they bother people. They always bothered me for a while until I really, fell into my own with my food choices and why I was doing it. But what I've had to kind of step back on and take a look at the macro view of this all is like, how ridiculous is it that being healthy and wanting to treat my body right is wrong in people's eyes? Like, that has helped me be more confident with my choices in kind of taking a look at that and being like really objectively looking at this and saying, well, this is silly. Like, how our world, I want to be the outcast then. Like, I want to be the person that does care about my health. I want to be the person that does inspire others, because that's the other thing, especially in social settings, that a lot of people don't think of, is that your choices, if you've been influenced by other people's choices, obviously that can work the other way. What if you become the inspiration? What if you become the person that other people can then hang on and use and rely on to be their motivation and to be the reason that they choose different for themselves, that they choose those things? Like, I don't know if you've ever been out to eat, but early on, especially early on in my journey, when I would like pick, I'm going to have the salad, I'm going to have all these things on the side, I'm going to pick my own dressing, I'll add that on the side, or I'll get like, the steamed vegetables, and I'll get the protein source because that's what I want for my goals. Other people would be like, oh, you're making me feel bad. It's like, well, that's obviously coming from you. Like, I didn't do anything to make you. And so we need to understand that our choices affect others too. And so if you want those that you love and those around you to be healthy as well, realize that your choices can be an inspiration to them. They can be a positive motivator to them. So as you're, going through this journey, continue to look at it in that perspective too, is that you can bring positive. If others have obviously caused this peer pressure on you, you can have the negative, you can have the opposite effect to them. And so look at it in that sense too. And I think everyone's been in that place, but just some interesting thing about like research and social circles. A recent study published in Nature Human Behavior actually explains how our social circle influences our eating patterns. The study examined 6,000 Massachusetts General Hospital workers. And if anyone knows people that work in the hospital, there is a lot of temptation. There is a lot of food in the break room. Everyone's always bringing things in. And they basically studied these people eating at hospital cafeterias over 2 years. And the study used cross-sectional and longitudinal data on employees making purchases within moments of one another. The results showed that the foods purchased by the various employee pairs were more alike than they were different. This data revealed how individuals tend to mirror the food choices of those in their social circle.
I think this is so true. When I was reading this earlier, I'm like, Becca, listen to this, because I think about times where I have been with individuals and maybe, they wanted to do like the, what is it, like family style dinner, right? And so I caved to go along with that instead of ordering the things that served me or my goals. I also think back to working in corporate with the individuals that I surrounded myself with. At Target, we didn't have very many healthy individuals. And so it was a lot of like Mexican food or Chinese food, things that would get ordered in, pizza, catering, things like that. But then when I shifted and I was working at Follett, one of my old friends from Target was there and he was in the military, into fitness, and we would meet up every day for lunch. And then there was another girl that was kind of like my partner in HR. She got on the train of wanting to eat healthier and, get ready for her wedding at that point in time. And so I had another person that I was able to sit and eat lunch with. And then we would go for walks instead of just, sitting at our desk and working through lunch too. So that was really, really helpful. But I 100%, I see how not just in your social circle, but in your work environment, if you have that person, who's your person, like you guys know Becca is my person, right? If you have that person that you're constantly communicating with and surrounding yourself with, and they're doing everything opposite of what you're trying to do, it is going to be more challenging. And you are going to have some conversations. We always say like, be the light. But it is important to communicate with them very clearly. Hey, here's what I'm going to be working on. So I'm going to be bringing my lunch, this week. I'm still happy to eat with you, but after we're done, would you like to go for a walk with me? You could start simple. You could start there, but know that you are going to be influenced no matter how much willpower you think that you have. Mm-hmm. Even Becca and I know this. If I make some homemade brownies or protein balls or cookies or whatever, she's going to have some when she's here.
Yep.
Not during her challenge because that's a commitment.
No, nope. I have done no sweets. And you know what's funny about that? It just makes the decisions easier.
You draw a line in the sand.
You draw a line. Like I have done no sweets. And so I haven't had any chocolate, any cookies, any candy, anything. And this is through New Year's and all leftover Christmas stuff. Our family did like our late Christmas this past Sunday. And there was obviously there were cinnamon rolls, my favorite. There was a tray of cookies. My mom made this like red velvet cake with homemade frosting. And sure, some of it looked good, but I was like, I don't need any of this. And I didn't touch it. And I left feeling better. I was happy that I didn't do it. And I've realized this more and more. And this, I think, correlates a lot with peer pressure on food is like, I've never been proud of giving in. Like I've never left a meal where I was like, oh, they're having bread, so I'll have bread. They ordered a drink, so I'll order a drink. They, got the burger, that sounds good, I'll get the burger. I've never left that and been like, I'm really glad I binge ate just now 1 million calories and feel like a whale. It's usually like, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. Again, like I keep having, and so that feeling that I would always get afterwards where it wasn't even like I'm trying to restrict. It's more of just physically how I would feel after those meals. I would feel awful. I would be tired. I don't know if Liz always, like when I worked in corporate and I would go out to lunch on a Friday and maybe go somewhere that was like more calorie dense and not super great for me, I would come back and like want to fall asleep at my desk. Mm-hmm. And so it's more about the physical feeling that I was getting. And Liz is right. It's you try not to be tempted, but even when we would go places that like had healthier options, but other people weren't getting those, I was like, why, that looks really good. Maybe I do want to have that. And to be honest, I stopped getting invited out to lunch. It was like, I said no so many times because I brought my own lunch that people just stopped asking me, which kind of sucks. But at the same token, I was like, you know what? I don't really want to be in that environment anyways. And, I have plenty of other people that I can like hang out with and, I'm still friends with these people, but you have to just evaluate that social circle that you're in. And I think that one of the biggest things that we need to understand is that this all starts from like a really early age. This is I'll be honest, one of my biggest fears as a mom is that my kid gets made fun of.
Yeah.
Or that he doesn't fit in, or he it's just, I don't know why. Maybe because I got made fun of when I was a kid. For those of you, I don't know how much I've shared it, but I was really overweight when I was little and I got made fun of a lot for it. And so I always have that fear of for him or my daughter to not fit in.
Yeah. And I think there's, even those kids out there, for example, that have peanut allergies or celiac disease, right? They get made fun of, and it's simply adolescence. They don't understand, exactly. Right? That maybe there is a legit reason why this person can't consume something, but fitting in, research tells us this starts at a super young age. And there's a really interesting research article that showed the children's eating habits and how heavily influenced they were by their peers. And so one study showed children between 2 and 5 years old together for 4 days, they started to change their eating patterns and their eating habits just to the other
Whoever
kids.
wants to send children that eat vegetables over to my house, I'll keep them for a week. So my child touches a vegetable at some point.
Marcus is now boycotting peas, and I don't understand because he's loved peas his whole life. It's like one of the only vegetables he'll eat. And I made him for him last night with sweet potato fries and the gluten-free chicken nuggets, and he ate everything but the peas. And I'm like, okay, we're backtracking here.
Oh, I still have not visually seen my child eat a vegetable. He's going on 4.
Do they say that he eats it at school?
Yeah, he says that he'll eat peas and green beans at school.
So
I'm
point
hoping.
proven, because the other kids are eating it.
Yeah, yesterday though he didn't eat. I asked him what he ate at lunch, and because I saw on the app what they serve, and there was chicken, rice, broccoli, and oranges. And so Nick and I had a conversation with him, and I was like, "What did you have at lunch?" And he was like, "I ate oranges." And I was like, "Did you eat the chicken?" He's like, "I didn't." I'm like, "Did you eat the rice?" "I didn't." "Did you eat the broccoli?" "No, I did not." I'm like, okay, so we just ate oranges for lunch. And like, obviously at lunch, at school, they're not going to offer him anything else. Like at home, I'll try and get him to eat other things. But I'm like, did any of your friends eat the broccoli? And he goes, Emily ate broccoli. I'm like, well, you should try and, join Emily and eat some broccoli. I'm like having this conversation. But I just loved, I didn't. I did not. Like,
I love how he knows that Emily ate the broccoli.
Like that's what I talk to your kids, people. Like they are so observant, and he remembers everything.
Probably not a good thing.
Not a good thing. It's not a good thing in most situations. But in this situation, Emily's one of his best friends. Emily and Brooks J and Brooks Beatty. Those are all of his best friends at school. So anyways, back to behaviors and modeling others' behaviors. And this is so true. I think back on all the times, like holidays, big events, parties, stuff, times that I have consumed more than I've wanted to, or eaten to a place where I'm uncomfortable. It is because others around me are doing the same. Mm-hmm. And that is like, it is clear that other people around us influence us. You don't really feel like having a glass of wine, but your friend's like, oh, have one, I'm having one. Or, oh, can I pour you a glass of wine? And you're in that moment, you're like, well, I don't want to say no. That feeling of like, I don't want to be rude. A lot of people have that fear, mm-hmm. that you're being rude or disrespectful of other people. And it's this strange paradigm that we find ourselves in. And seeing others eat more, we tend to eat more. If you're at a big table, and everyone's taking seconds, like you're probably going to take seconds even if you're not hungry anymore. Mm-hmm. I've noticed this a lot now. Like I have gotten to a place where I no longer finish my meal if I'm stuffed. Like if I'm full, I used to be the person clean my plate. Always clean my plate, and I would overeat. And now I've noticed the only times I overeat is when I'm in a social setting.
Yeah. And I think it's funny too, because I was reading something earlier today and like look back at my cyclical history of weight gain and losing weight. There was always in certain, relationships, there's 2 guys that I dated for a few years in high school and then one in college. And we dated for a couple years each. Anyways, I gained weight with both of them, that like happy weight. When I met Art, I was on the reverse, but then when we moved in together, like we did have healthy meals, but if it was his pizza night that he wanted, because he is like Nick and has the pizza quota, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then I was more apt to eat the pizza with him or go out and have, drinks with him or friends that we would meet up, like couples, it's like, hey, where do you guys want to go? Let's go to the brewery. Let's do, some beers on Sunday and stuff like that. And so it's just, you are way more apt to consume these things if the people you surround yourself are consuming these things. And this is where I really had to evaluate my social circle, because at some point I stopped getting invited to go out too, mm-hmm. because you just kept saying like, no, I'm not drinking right now. And nobody else wanted to just like go bowling or go ice skating or do active things. Yep. They wanted to go out to dinner and eat and drink. And I wasn't doing that for periods of time. And so your social circles, might change during this, but at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, like, do I want to continue to surround myself with people who are pulling me down, mm-hmm. and who are not supporting, my goals? And so the other big thing that I think is a really good point to bring up here is at some point in time, there becomes decision fatigue. And I can't say that, you know, this is so true in terms of like, what do you want to have for lunch? What do you want to have for dinner? What do you want to have for lunch on Friday? You know, like I sometimes joke with Art because it'll be like 8 o'clock in the morning. He's asking me what we're going to have dinner tonight. And I'm like, my mind hasn't even thought about, you know.
I plan all that out.
You do plan all that
do.
out. But like, I just plan what we're having for the week. I get the groceries in the house and I'm like, okay, we'll see. Like this morning I got up, I was like, Mississippi roast. I put it in the Instant Pot. So we'll have that tonight for dinner, you know? Then I also had taken some shrimp out to do shrimp stir fry. I might cook it tonight because then I'll have it left over tomorrow. I don't know. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants sometimes. But I think when you're in these social environments, it sometimes just becomes easier to go along with what everybody else is doing. Right. Yep. And here's the thing. The problem is this makes you feel bad physically. The next day you regret it. You know, wish that you would have made a different decision or you had a better plan going in. So what can you do about peer pressure? And how do we, you know, start to improve this and withstand it?
So I think the first thing you have to start, and this is with anything, guys, this is with anything in nutrition and health, you have to start becoming aware. You have to ask yourself some questions and really pay attention to your behaviors. And this first one is asking yourself, like, how often do I actually make a decision that I want to make? How often am I eating the food that I want to eat, that I told myself I would eat? And how often do I fall in line with others to keep the peace? Or in your mind, keep the peace? Like, let's be honest. Most people don't care. They don't care. They really don't. They might say something. It's just like a knee-jerk reaction, I think, for a lot of people to just like make a snarky comment. But at the end of the day, they're not going home thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Susie ordered that salad at lunch. This is like really bothering me. Like, no one's doing that. And if it is, good. Maybe they should question their own actions, okay? But like, you guys, it is not impacting their life beyond that moment. And if it is, maybe you should be the person that makes them question their own actions. Like, maybe start being that person. I think that is what more people should be. And that's what I've chosen to be. I've chosen to be that catalyst. Like, you want to know why I'm ordering the salad? Okay, let me open up on you. All right, this is why I'm ordering. No, I'm just kidding. But at the end of the day, you got to ask, like, how many things am I doing? Do I actually want to do? And then the next thing is becoming aware of that habit that's influenced by others in the coming week. Like, when are you ordering the banana loaf at Starbucks that you didn't really need? When are you getting the extra coffee that you don't need? When I remember at Allstate, they had a Starbucks in Allstate. Yeah. And so we would walk there at like 3 PM. I didn't freaking need a coffee at 3 PM, but my friend always wanted to go there. My best friend at Allstate. And so she'd come by my desk. You want to go get Starbucks? I was like, okay. Yep. Order something I don't need. Like,
we used to do that all the time. We had Starbucks in our building too at Follett, or we had them at Target too. It was dangerous, spent way too much money there. But yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I want to get away from my desk. It's 3 PM, winding down the day. Why not go? And then you end up ordering things that you didn't even really want or need in the first place. Like, maybe you plan to have, you know, a pre-workout snack. This is what I fell into, at least. Like, I'd have a pre-workout snack with me because I was going to go to the gym at 5:30 or 6 after work. And then instead I'd be like, oh, well, this cake pop looks good. It's only 130 calories. Let's do that. But physically, then I didn't feel great, right? My stomach would hurt. Just had a sugary coffee with a cake pop. Not a great combo, by the way. And then I would go into my workout feeling like heavy and sluggish, versus if I had just kind of powered through, gone for the walk with a friend, maybe got an iced tea, skipped the cake pop, stuck with my original plan, I would feel a lot better. So I think it's important. And we talk about this with our Win the Day course in terms of, you know, things that are coming up on your radar. You need to be aware of the trigger times and things that, you know, are going to be facing you head on so that you can tackle them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this planning ahead is so important, and plan ahead and make a commitment to yourself. Like, plan ahead that I have this, you know, Friday afternoon, we always go and get happy hour, you know, after work, whatever it is, like, or Saturday night, my friends always want to go out. Okay, perfect. I'm going to plan to have 2 drinks, water in between, and stop after the 2 drinks. I'm going to plan a workout for the next morning. Like, set yourself up with a very specific thing that you want to adhere to, and then challenge yourself to do it. Like, after that second drink, when you want a third one because you're having fun and everyone else is having a third one, and remind yourself every time you regret it. Remind yourself the next morning when you always wake up hungover and you hate that feeling. Like, try to have that. And then I always use the Mel Robbins 5-second rule, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get a water, plan on leaving in the next hour, go to bed early, feel better waking up the next day. Like you still enjoyed time with your friends. You still included a couple drinks. Like try to have these plans and then show yourself you can stick to them, guys. Get a buddy. Talk to someone, tell someone your plan, have a coach, explain your plan, have someone to hold you accountable for it. Like all of these things can be helpful in actually changing your habits, and don't beat yourself up. I think this is the biggest thing with peer pressure around food and like a lot of restrict binge that a lot of people go through. It is not a linear thing. You are not going to wake up tomorrow and never have an issue with this again. What I always tell people is like, it should get a little bit easier over time. And the overconsumptions, the things that you give into become less and less extreme. Until one day you wake up and you're like, I can't remember the last time that I gave into my temptations around social peer pressure. And it happens slowly and it happens gradually, but it is not like you never deal with it again. Liz and I still always deal with it. It's just you become stronger, you become prouder, you become more informed, and you become able to stand up for yourself better. But we have to plan ahead. We have to understand that this is normal and start paying attention to your actions.